Let's take those numbers now that are coming in from the state of Kerala. Let's play out the seat projection here. This is for the LDF. And what we have on an average here on this is between 78 to 86, which means there is a minus 0.6%. So largely the current government sitting on a very, very good position could perhaps along expected lines basis these figures continue to carry on in power in the second term here as well. For the UDF here, it's between 52 to 60%. It's a loss. It's a loss in a swing of minus 1.2%, given the fact currently the UDF is at 47 here. The BJP is from 0 to 2. So the BJP making a gain in that projection here, starting from 1 and then making that gain here is what we have. So it's not going to be a massive gain as what we've seen in West Bengal. West Bengal, the gain is much more. It could be along phenomenal lines, but in Kerala it still seems like a struggle here for the BJP. Still perhaps a long way to go. Mr. Javed Ansari, as we said, continues to stay on with us, senior journalist. We have Mr. Gopal Krishna Agarwal, who is the national spokesperson of the BJP. And we have more state voices here coming in as well. Mr. Anil Anthony, spokesperson of the Congress, the KPCC. And Mr. A.N. Shamsir here, who's the member of the Kerala Legislative Assembly. He's representing the Talaseri constituency here. This is, of course, of the Kannur district. He's with us from the CPIM. And let's in fact make... Okay, we're going to be making a start here with Mr. Gopal Krishna Agarwal. Good evening. Thank you for being with us. Are the Kerala projections worrisome for the BJP?
No, these all these projections are just surveys, and because actually it has been alternative rules between UDF and LDF. People have an expectation that BJP may not be fighting for forming government, but that perception we are trying to change. I have come from Kerala just today. The response that we got on the Kerala Vijay Yatra was tremendous. And one after another, the issues against the LDF are quite serious because Pinarayi Vijayan seems to be completely failing in governance issues. There is no infrastructure, no employment generation, no industries being set up, and only he believes in distribution of wealth creation, which was basically from remittances. And now everybody wants that there should be industries in Kerala, employment generation should be there. The people of Kerala are well educated and there is a high literacy rate, but there are no industries. The roads are bad. So communist government have failed completely, and UDF in itself is confused whether they are fighting communist in Kerala and then aligning with communist parties in West Bengal. So these confusions about Sabrimala, love jihad, the minority population of Christians, they all are so fed up with the Pinarayi Vijayan government. So these issues are cumulatively showing that BJP has sufficiently good scope for growing, and that perception from the people's mind that BJP is not fighting for forming government has to go away. We are now working day and night to come out with that perception, just remove that perception. Once that happens, the anti-LDF vote will come to BJP. I am very sure on that.
Mr. Javed Ansari, to what extent this will, in your view, start reflecting on ground in terms of numbers, or is this for this election season as well, could continue to remain a perception battle? This is strictly with respect to the BJP here.
You know, Kerala, along with Andhra, Tamil Nadu, are states where the BJP is fighting to gain a foothold. In the south, till now, Karnataka is the only one where they are a serious player. They've formed government several times and they are now in power as well. But to be fair to them, these are states The states that I mentioned are ones where they've had very negligent and negligible presence. It's only now under Mr. Modi and Mr. Shah that they are trying to increase their footprints across the country, and these states fall into that category. They are still not at that stage where they will be serious contenders for power. They have to depend on the IDMK in Tamil Nadu, on allies in Andhra Pradesh and in Kerala. They're trying to go on their own. But it will take them a couple of elections before they become serious players for power. Which is, right now, their main focus appears to be West Bengal. Even if they do not form the government in West Bengal, they will be serious. They will have established themselves as serious contenders of power in that state.
Okay, let's try to take that point across here to Mr. Anil Antony. If we're connected with the spokesperson of the Congress here on this. Also taking into account other figures here. This is, of course, basis as far as personality. Popular personality here. The current Chief Minister, Mr. Vijayan of the CPIM, continues to dominate that list here at 38.0%. Mr. Oomen Chandy of the INC here, who was the previous Chief Minister in the previous term in the previous government, is pretty close with 28.3%, and other members, of course, further down the list in single-digit figures here of what we are getting in. Mr. Javed Ansari, does it seem as a surprise here to you, because there's also ongoing investigations with respect to the gold smuggling scam, or what we've seen, murmurs, noises, statements that continue to be made on how directly the Chief Minister's office is perhaps allegedly connected to that. But as far as his positioning in terms of winnability, in terms of popularity, seems largely unaffected.
Look, there are two leading figures, towering figures in the state of Kerala and their politics. One is Mr. Vijayan, the other is Mr. Oomen Chandy. It will come as a surprise to a lot of people. The current trends buck conventional wisdom, because Kerala has always oscillated one term for the UDF, the next term for the LDF. So if the LDF does manage to win a second consecutive term, that will be quite an achievement. And it would be largely on account of Mr. Vijayan, his handling of the COVID crisis, as also the floods that hit Kerala last year. The Congress appears to be suffering from some kind of a problem between Mr. Chandy and Mr. Ramesh Chennithala. Till the local bodies election, everybody imagined that it will be Mr. Ramesh Chennithala who will be the face of the Congress going forward into the elections. But given the fact that they didn't do as well as they expected to, they brought Mr. Chandy back into the scheme of things, and now they are hoping to close the gap. So we still need to watch, because Kerala always swings between five-year term to one, and then the next 5-year term to the other. If they buck the trend, then all credit to the CPM and to the left and to Mr. Vijayan. But we'll need to watch this one very closely.
All right, Mr. Anil Antony, final question here to you, as long as we stay here in the state of Kerala here. In the Congress's calculation here, your Chief Minister will face popular but not popular enough perhaps to help come back in power here. Also, the seat projections here that are coming in are between 52 to 60.
Good evening, sir. First of all, I would like to say very clearly that the Congress party has a lot of reservations on these numbers, and these are not based on just 5-year trends, but based on the ground realities. The current survey, it says that our performance is almost very similar to what it was 5 years back. But something we fail to take into notice is that something very seismic happened sometime in the middle, and that was in 2019, where in the Lok Sabha elections, even against all the national trends of the 20 seats, we won 19. And that vote share, we had almost 47% vote share, which is almost 12% more than our closest competitor. Later on, we didn't do as well as we anticipated in the local body elections. But in the last 1 month, our party, led by our national leadership, has taken a lot of very strong course-corrective steps, and our ground reports do say that we are in the right direction. So, like even some of my previous speakers have said, after our local body elections, our central leadership has created a 10-member strategy committee led by our former Chief Minister Sri Oommen Chandy and 9 other most popular Congress leaders we have in the state. And we are the only state party that is giving an option of a collective leadership. So that itself is one of the changes. Then, in the last few weeks, our central leadership has given a task to Dr. Shashi Tharoor MP to head the manifesto committee, and he has been touring across the state, talking to all sections of our population, and we are presenting a very futuristic manifesto for a world-class Kerala. And it is driving a new narration and a new course in our state.
All right, so you're moving ahead confidently despite some of these projections. I'm afraid we'll have to leave it at that here. But a lot of our guests, of course, speaking in relative terms, and they're talking about their 2019 projections, which is Lok Sabha. We are strictly keeping it to State Assembly. Whatever our projections are, basis 2016 of the State Assembly elections of the previous term here. Stay on with us. We still have Assam to scrutinize here. Back in just a bit.